If you don't do something, is it because you can't do it or because you won't do it? Hi, my name is Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Ascension Presents. So back in the day, when I was in college, I took a guitar class, how to play guitar class, not how to make guitars. I was taught by this guy who was a professional guitarist. He actually was a studio musician down in the Twin Cities, and he was awesome. He was incredible. But one of the things, I was in a class, it wasn't just a one-on-one lesson. In this class, there were a bunch of guys, including myself, who had some experience playing guitar. And the first class, the teacher said, okay, here's how I want you to hold your guitar. And it was like in what you call, I guess, the classical style. So your left leg is a little higher and the guitar is kind of positioned like in a way that it's a little more upright than it is like way down here. He'll say, this is the best way to play the guitar, because if you play like this, you'll be able to play any kind of guitar music, because if you hold it in this angle, you'll be able to reach the fretboard and the whole thing, like all the stuff. Basically, this is the best way to be able to play any kind of music. And a number of the guys, so I'm very docile. I did what I was told. This is the pro, right? I'm gonna do what the pro tells me. So I changed my guitar from how I used to hold it to, okay, now we hold it like this. But there were some guys in the class who also had experience, as I said, and they're like, well, but I like to hold my guitar way down here, and I kind of put it down, and this is how I play, and this is my style. And he said, okay, that's fine. And if you hold it like you're holding it, you can play that kind of music. But if you hold it the way I'm telling you to hold it, you can not only play that kind of music, you can play like any kind of music, because you'll be able to reach the entire guitar. But they're like, well, no, but this is how I hold it. That's my style. And I remember thinking at the time, like, dude, this is the pro. You don't play the guitar well enough to have a style yet. I mean, they were good enough, right? They were decent. But just like, no, I hold it like this. Like your idiosyncrasies, your like quirky way of holding the guitar is not a style. That's just kind of your default setting. And I just think like, okay, he's saying do this. And if you don't do it, I don't do it because I can't do it. I can't hold my guitar, or because I won't do this. It's so interesting. I was reading Mark's gospel, well, actually any of the gospels. Those times when Jesus heals somebody and then he tells them explicitly, says, okay, don't go tell anybody else. Just keep this to yourself. Basically, go show yourself to the priest. In Mark's gospel, chapter 1, he heals a guy with leprosy and it says that really clearly. Don't go tell anybody, but do go to the priest and show them. And then it says the man immediately went off and told everybody. And I always, it's so frustrating to me. I'm always like, what the heck? Jesus just healed you of the thing that was killing you and told you to do one thing, two things: don't tell anyone and show yourself to the priest, and you don't do it. And I just ask the question, why? Is it because you can't do it? I just can't keep it to myself. I have to tell everybody my story, or because you won't do it? Like, no, this is my story. I'm going to tell people my story. I don't care what he's asking me to do. When it comes down to it, sometimes when we don't do the thing we know we're supposed to do, is it because I can't do it? I'm incapable of it? Or is it because I don't want to and I won't do it? I'm not willing to do this. In fact, it kind of reminds me, the guitar story reminds me of hearing from a professor telling his experience with some of his students' writing. And he said he was talking to this one young woman, and her writing, he said, was just awful. And he went through her paper with her, and she's like, well, no, that's just my style. And he said, basically the same thing that my guitar teacher would have said, which was like, you're not a good enough writer to have a style. Like your quirkiness, the quirky way you write or the idiosyncratic way you write, that's not a style. That's just being quirky and idiosyncratic. But to be able to write in any kind of style, to be able to do any kind of play the guitar, to be able to follow Christ in every way he's calling us to do. Because that's what happens, right? When it comes down to it, is a lot of us then take that same mentality. Well, that's just me. That's just my style. That's how I do things, into our following Jesus. So some people will say, well, I'm not into contemplation. I'm not into prayer, because I'm more like, I'm like a service Christian, like, getting out there and helping people. So I don't do that one thing. Others would say the opposite. They say like, I don't get in the world too much. I just really, really have contemplation, or like, I don't really witness to Jesus because like people, they can tell just by the way I live, I don't have to like go out. The reality, of course, is that's not your like style of Christianity. That's not like the professor had said, like the guitar guy could have said, like, No, you're not good enough to have a style. We are none of us are necessarily at a point where like our following Christ gets to be unique. Now, maybe you are. Maybe you're that advanced where your following Christ gets to be unique. And it's also always going to be yourself. And yes, you are a precious flower that is individual like a thumbprint. But when it comes down to it, the saints are so different. This is true. The saints are so different. I mean, they are absolutely, they're what you call unique. The saints are great examples of, wow, that particular style of following Christ, amazing. That particular way of being a witness to Jesus in the world, incredible and so different. The fruit, right? The fruit of their lives is unique. The fruit of their lives are distinct, but the soil is the same. The soil is the same. Like every saint starts out with the same soil, needing the same stuff. Every one of us needing prayer, and a certain kind of prayer, even needing to be exposed to a certain kind of prayer. Like some people would say, well, yeah, I'm not really liturgical. Like, yeah, but that's part of the soil. Like to have like liturgical worship is essential. That's part of the soil. Like, well, I'm not really charismatic and I don't really like praying in the Spirit. No, we need to pray in the Spirit because that's part of the soil. That's part of what we have. Like, I fear that right now I'm coming across as like the old man saying, get off my lawn. What's wrong with you people? And some of you might even be saying like, why is he so concerned about this? I think it's because I've talked to people who would say things like, well, I don't pray the rosary. Like, well, have you ever? Yeah, I tried. It's really boring. Like, oh, no. So then they go on to say like, yeah, so it's not part of my style of, Catholicism or whatever. Like, oh, this is the soil. This is like basic. And we have to actually master the basics before that fruit gets to be distinct. The fruit, again, the fruit gets to be different. The fruit is the unique stuff of like, wow, that particular saint, she was called to do this. This other particular saint, he was called to do that. And the fruit is different, but the soil has to be the same. And the temptation, again, obviously you're going to be an individual and you're going to follow Christ in the only way that you can because he made you as you. But I would invite all of us to not short circuit the unique fruit that's going to be coming by exempting ourselves from being part of the soil that we all need to be in. Yeah, it might come down to the day where someone says something like, do you journal in prayer? Like, no, I don't. But question, do you know how? Oh, of course I know how. Yeah, I developed that. That's part of the soil. Or do you know Lectio Divina? Yeah, of course. I don't practice that now because I'm praying in a different way. But you know how to do it? Of course I do because I dive deep into that. That's part of the soil. Ignatian meditation. No, I don't do that. But I know how because it's part of the soil. That there's something about not making ourselves the exception of like, I have to force this individuality, and because the danger is take pride in the idea that my idiosyncrasies and my quirky way of following Jesus is actually a particular style. That my quirks aren't really my fruits. The fruits only come from when we're willing to like actually live in the soil of Christianity, live in the soil of the church, and take all of the treasures of the church that are at our disposal to learn them, to live them, and to allow that learning and living to produce fruit. That makes sense? That's where we get to be distinct. That's where the uniqueness gets to rise to the surface. That's where the individuality can bear fruit in incredible ways. And if I don't do that, is it because I can't do it? Or is it because I won't do it? The fruit's going to be there, and the fruit is going to be amazing. The fruit is going to be so unique and so different, but the soil must be the same. And if I don't live in the soil, is it because I can't? Because I won't. If I can't, the problem is I'm limited and I need to dive back in. If I won't, the problem is my pride. And I need to maybe take a little humble pie and dive back in. For all of us here at Ascension Presents, my name is Father Mike. God bless.